law. Even the arrogance that characterized his dealings with those he considered his social inferiors would have aroused no more than their unspoken resentment. But the man was avaricious, and lately, with the aid of his lawyer, Thomas Slater, who was cast in the same mould, he had succeeded in obtaining eviction orders against several of his tenants by invoking the Enclosure Act, with the object of adding their land to his own considerable acreage. Under the Act, a Tudor law that had never been rescinded, Lord Braxton demanded certain standards of husbandry that his predecessor, an amiable aristocrat, had not bothered to enforce, and the curtailment of the use of common land for grazing. And this, patient and accustomed to injustice though they were, the Dales folk would not suffer in silence. The average smallholder depended on the free use of common land, as had his father before him. Sheep could find sustenance on hill and moor, but horses and cows could not. Bitterness against the new lord of the manor was building up to an alarming degree. There had been talk, among a few young hotheads, of paying the tyrant back in his own coin by pulling down the fences he had erected, and some of them had even considered violence against his person. As their spiritual counsellor, the old rector had done all in his power to restrain them, warning them of the inevitable consequences of any such action, but most of them had been too angry to pay him heed. Only a week ago, 2 fences on Braxton land had been torn down and the timber stolen under cover of darkness, and there had been a bungled attempt, attributed to footpads, to waylay his lordship's carriage as it returned late from town. Fortunately for the culprits, the carriage had been empty and the coachman had met with no harm, but the Reverend Simeon Ackroyd sighed uneasily. It had been feared that Braxton's presence at the fair might provoke another futile act of retaliation, which had driven him reluctantly to ride over soon after dawn in order to attach himself to the manor party. Lord Braxton had not welcomed him. He had lawyer Slater in close attendance, and his rascally bailiff, Ned Waite, in addition to a one-time seaman known locally as Gunner O'Keefe, whom he employed as a groom and without whose escort he seldom stirred beyond the confines of his own walled garden. That he was bent on making trouble for some unfortunate seemed evident from his manner and the low-voiced exchanges with Thomas Slater as the small cavalcade formed up on the manor's gravel carriageway. But apart from a disparaging remark concerning the ability of the rector's sorry nag to keep pace with his thoroughbreds, he had raised no objection to his company, although Simeon Ackroyd again buried his spurs in his mount's hairy sides. His lordship had made not the smallest effort to suit his speed to that of the poor animal. With relief, the rector saw that Lord Braxton's party had at last drawn rein, and urged on by his voice and heels, the cob broke into a shambling canter, to come to a halt, breathing heavily, beside the others on the road verge. His relief was short-lived. "That's to fella, my lord," he heard Bailiff Waite say. "That's to Scotsman over yonder. Taggart he calls himself. 'Tis he lives by the west side of Kirby Stray." His pointing finger picked out a farm dray some 50 or 60 yards ahead of them, drawn by 2 well-matched Clydesdales, their brasses shining in the pale morning sunlight, their manes and tails decked with gaily coloured ribbons in preparation for the fair. A man and a woman occupied the driving seat with a child between them, and 3 young workhorses with haltered heads, obviously intended for the day's auction sale, followed behind. Lord Braxton raised a hand to shade his eyes as he stared in the direction his bailiff had indicated. He asked over his shoulder, addressing no one in particular, "Does he breed horses, this Taggart?" The lawyer answered him, "Yes, my lord, so it seems, and he's said to be good at it. Certainly his animals fetch."